And it's Christmas! No, of course it isn't Christmas. It's all over and done with for another year. For three reasonably important reasons. Number one, it's actually the 28th of December now, which is when I found the time to record this. Number two, I've actually been able to selfishly spend money on myself rather than other people, which is the whole reason for this video existing. And number three, by the time this actually gets round to being watched, it's probably going to be at least the second week in January, which is the most important reason, really, because, well, basically what happens is the holidays are generally quite lucrative for me, and I can't really turn away work when it's happening. So I haven't really got time to edit this until then. So... yeah, this is just going to be very quickly filmed and then edited at some point in the future. So probably by the time you see this, it's at least the second week in January. But as I got this today, I wanted to do a video now. I haven't done an unboxing for a while, basically because I haven't had anything that I thought was interesting enough to unbox. Yeah, I did some of them big box limited run games that I unboxed on the pickups video to show you what was in them. I obviously did them, but I think the thing I'm about to do today qualifies as interesting. Now, what I've bought myself is an Amstrad GX4000. Now, if you don't live in Europe, you probably don't know what this is. I have done a video on this before. You'll find it somewhere in my Collect, Emulate, Avoid playlist. And I'm not going to justify me buying myself one, even though it completely disagrees with what I said in the video in that playlist. But yeah, I got one. I got it for a reasonable price, and... also, this video is going to act as a slight spoiler to the next pickups video I do, because obviously this is a pickup, so I probably won't actually bother to show this on the pickups video now. I might just mention it. But let's just go through what this console is. So basically, in the 80s, we had a company called, in the UK this is, and in Europe, because they did trade in Europe. We had a company called Amstrad, and they made computers. They made well, they made more than computers. They made stereos and televisions and video recorders and consumer electronics, basically. But one of their most popular lines was something called the Amstrad CPC, which was a very popular games computer, a gaming computer rather, in Britain. I don't know how popular it was in Europe. I imagine it was quite popular, but it was very popular in Britain. And what they did is they made a plus version of that took cartridges. And because they did that, they decided to consoleize it. So this is basically the consoleized version of an Amstrad 464 Plus. So... yeah, and if anyone's keeping track of all the minutiae in these videos, the serial number on this box is 735-OXO1096. So if that serial number seems familiar to you in any way, then you can drop something in the comments that says, yeah, it was me, I used to own that one. So let's just go through the box first of all. So we have... now, the box has seen better days. There's some tape marks down here and some tape marks down here. So I'm guessing that the guy I got it off wasn't the original owner. I'm also guessing by this sticker here that says Lanes Exeter Depositories that he wasn't the original owner. So I would imagine that this has at least been through 4 different sets of hands before it's got to me, perhaps more. But as you can see here, this is the more, I'd say, more sought after English version. Now, let me just explain. You see these on eBay from time to time, but more often than not, especially if it's a boxed version, it's the French one. And the telltale sign with the French model is it's got a big yellow sticker with a load of French written on it on the front or on the back that gives you a warning about the power supply, which, as you can see here, so you can pause the video and read that at your leisure, basically says that you must keep the system plugged in. You must never remove the power supply from the system without disconnecting it from the mains first. Otherwise, you will fry the console in all likelihood, and this is why. This is part of the reason why you don't see many of these around, is for that very reason. And the fact that it's got a sticker on it says to me that this is probably the second production run, because I'm pretty sure the originals didn't come with that sticker. So this will be from the second production run, which was the last production run, as far as I'm aware. This is all conjecture, really, because there's no real hard and fast facts, or at least there's not very many hard and fast facts on this console. But yeah, so the other problem is the games. Now, usually, if I buy a second-hand console, I like to try and get it in a bundle. I normally set a limit of about £100, and I like to get it in a bundle with some games to play. But all of the games, pretty much all the games on this system are not rare, but you're not going to find them in a shop. Collectors have them, and obviously people that have a 464 Plus have some of them, but the games are difficult to find. Put it that way. There wasn't many of them made. There was a massive chip shortage in the industry at the time, and so a lot of the cartridge games weren't actually produced in very vast numbers. I don't know what the official figures are, but that's basically the story behind it, is that there weren't enough chips around to manufacture the cartridges for this system. So that means the games are, at the very least, scarce. And in certain cases very, very rare. You're not going to find them even in retro game shops. In fact, I dare say, unless somebody actually has gone out and researched this console for themselves, this is not, even in a retro game shop, you're not going to find many people that actually know what this is. So at the very least, that makes it a half-decent collector's piece. Now, I haven't actually tried this out. I haven't had it out of the box. So I don't even know if it works, which is another issue to be wary of when you're buying one of these. Now, the guy, I bought this on eBay, the guy says it's working. But to be honest, if it's not working, I don't really know what to do. I mean, I can't really be bothered to send it back to him, because I'll tell you now, I got the thing for £55, which for boxed is fantastic, as far as I'm concerned, because I mean, you very rarely see these, and the two reasons why I bought it is because A, it was an auction, which is unusual. Normally when you do see these, they're on buy it now, and they're more than £55. And you know, it said it was working. It said in the description, working, which isn't always a guarantee, even with a high price buy it now. So I'm hoping it does work, and obviously if it does, at the end of the video I'll show you some footage of the included game, which is included because it showed a picture of everything that was meant to be in here, which is burning rubber. But first of all, let's get on with the unboxing just to see what's in here. Right, so let's begin. So we've got a tab here on the side, and then we've got another thing here, and then we've got two little wings that come out, and then the handle bit. Right, okay, that all seems to be in order. Look, there's some tearing here, so, whoops, a bit of tearing here, so this has obviously been in and out of the box quite a few times, and I don't really want to break anything. Don't want to break anything, let alone everything. So let's be careful. Right, that's the internal bit out. So we can put that to one side. Right, and you can see here it says up. So there we are. There's the console. Whoops, you go over there. There's the console. Looking all like a... I mean, people describe it as looking like a spaceship. It kind of does, really. I quite like it. I think it's... Actually, truth be told, I think the actual case for this was designed before the hardware inside it was. So that's kind of the Amstrad motto, is to... I suppose what was it? It looks good for a lorry driver. Yeah, a lorry driver would be impressed by that. I think that was their motto on design at the time. Mr. and Mrs. Lorry Driver. Right, so let's see what we've got. Right, we've got an instruction book for burning rubber, which is in multiple languages, because this came out in... I think it came out here, France, Spain and Germany, if I'm not mistaken. And it says, even there's a sticker here, look, connect DC plug into GX4000 console before plugging AC adapter into AC supply. So always connect it up to the supply first. It's obviously a transformer issue. I may look at getting a different power supply, a modern one that's compatible. But yeah, so that's your instruction book there. Here we've got that power supply. Well, see, 12 volt DC, 12 volt DC 600 milliamps, I reckon it should be very easy to get a replacement power supply for that. So I might look at doing that actually before I test it, just in case. But 12 volt DC 600 milliamp shouldn't be any problem getting a replacement power supply for that. Right, controllers, 2 of. So we've got 2 controllers. Actually, they look like they've never been used, let alone unwrapped. Well, maybe. Maybe there's a bit of fingerprinting on that one. I don't know. But yeah, so this is the controller. It's very, very similar to... a bit of... some plaster in there. Somebody's obviously been renovating their walls while having the box open at some point. Yeah, so these are reminiscent of sort of Master System controllers. In fact, they're almost exactly the same. Apart from the external design, they are effectively a Master System controller, only the D-pad is rounded rather than the sort of more square-edged Master System version. Let's have a look. Not too bad. Not any more uncomfortable than any other controller of the time. So, and they are, well, that 9-pin connector that everyone's so used to. I imagine a Master System controller might even work with this system, I don't know. Right, this is the horrid RF lead. And that's another thing I'll have to do before I test this console, is I'll have to try and find a SCART lead. And here's my copy of Burning Rubber. So yeah, the cartridges obviously aren't much to look at, but there you go. And in fact, I'm pretty certain now that this is the second generation, or the second production run of these, because having seen a boxed one of these before, I'm sure where the cartridge was kept was in the bottom of the box somewhere like this. So this has obviously had a redesign to put the cartridge in the middle. So there you go. So now, seeing as I've still got the box open, let's take a quick look at the console, even though I went through it in a previous video. Look. Shh, polystyrene, noisy. Yeah, so like I say, it looks like a spaceship, doesn't it? Pew, 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 and all that, and zoom and hyperdrive and all the rest of it. Now, I'm going to have to go through the instructions a little bit because I don't know what this button's for. I feel I should know. I think it must be to change between the monitor and the SCART output. So that's basically what it is. So this is the power supply for the power supply that comes with the console. And these are for an Amstrad monitor. Because like I say, Amstrad was a consumer electronics company, basically. But they also did plenty of computers and office computers and things like that. And what this basically is, these two ports here, is that you could send a signal to an Amstrad monitor, a colour one or a monochrome one, depending on what you had. But you could also use the monitor as a power supply for the console, which is what this extra DC in is for. And this is a SCART connector. Now, if you're an American, and I know a lot of Americans watch my channel, so you may not have heard of SCART, but this is basically the video format we had in Europe in the 90s. And it's a lot better than RF. I mean, it's miles better than RF. It's miles better than composite. It's basically component, but in the 90s. So it's like standard definition component. So it's component up to 480p, I believe. Maybe 480i. But it's standard definition component. And each of these different 21 pins that's on here has a different function that's standardised through all the equipment that uses it. So it's actually a really good connector for consoles. I have SCART on my Super Nintendo. I have it on the Mega Drive, and it came as standard with this. You didn't have to buy a special cable. It also has RF, which I won't be using. Number one, because it looks awful, and number two, because if I was to plug this into my HD television, it probably wouldn't even recognise that there was anything here. I'm not sure what that switch is for. I get the feeling that I should know. I'll have to check the instruction book. And then on the front, we have, if you can see that, if the light's a bit bad actually because of this overhanging flap. So that's a headphone jack there. These two here are the controller inputs. Now this is an analog port, which isn't... Analog port might be a bit misleading. This will take a standard computer joystick, because the standard joysticks on the CPC had this sort of fit in here, as far as I'm aware. I'm pretty sure that's the Commodores had the same thing, but don't quote me on that. But this is basically for a PC joystick type input, and the normal controllers go in these ones here. Now this one is an RJ11, I think. Yeah, RJ11. And you may go, oh, networking. No, it's not actually for networking. What it's for a light gun, basically. Well, that's the idea behind it, but I've never heard of anyone who actually owns a light gun for this thing. I'm sure they must exist, because why would you go to the extra expense of putting a port on something if the thing doesn't exist? But it's also apparently compatible. There's a light pen used for drawing that technically, according to the hardware in it, that works with the CPC, I should add, that technically should be compatible with the hardware that's in this. Although what you'd actually use it for on this, I have no idea. But technically, if you were to put a CPC light pen in this slot, it would, look as if it would work, but it doesn't actually do anything. So that's what that's for. And here we have on the console, this is the power slot here, the power switch, very, very simple. And when that's over there, that locks the door, locks the cartridge in place, so very handy. And this is the much derided pause button, which is on the console and not on the controllers. Now, anyone I've ever seen mention this console, especially Americans who do know about it, who don't seem to get it, always pause button on the console. Well, you've got to remember that in Britain and in Europe, we grew up not really with with the NES, although I had one. I know a few people that had one, but most people had the Master System, which had the same design. So the Master System was very, very popular in Britain, and it had a pause button on the console. So if you're Amstrad and you're building a console, where do you put your pause button? Well, you put it on the actual console, which makes sense because on a computer, the pause button is on the keyboard, and the idea behind a pause button isn't really. It wasn't originally a gaming use. It was to stop executing lines of code. Was the original idea behind a pause button on a computer. So because Amstrad, being a computer manufacturer before it decided to create a console, they just put their pause button on the main system, which is, was pretty standard, to be fair, for consoles at the time. The only one that didn't really do that was the Nintendo. So yeah. But the other thing with Amstrad is it was a trusted brand. When this console came out, Amstrad was a trusted brand. More people bought the CPC, however, because it looked to be the more useful item. And this is why this console is, forgotten, really. So actually, let's just check the serial numbers match from what it says on my box. Very important. Just to check that it hasn't been reboxed. OXO1096. Yep, so it's exactly the same. Yeah. Well, I don't really know what else to say about it other than... so in order to show you any gameplay footage, I'm going to have to find a SCART lead. Now... Thinking about it, I don't think I've got any SCART leads anymore. So I might have to go and buy one, which is going to be really irritating. Because we've moved on now. Everything's HDMI. And even stuff that I do use SCART for, like the Super Nintendo or the Mega Drive or something like that, I have specific connectors for those consoles. They don't have a SCART at both ends. Even my... I don't have a DVD player anymore. I've got a Blu-ray player, and that's HDMI. So I haven't needed a SCART lead in years. So I'm pretty sure I don't have one. So that is something I didn't think about, actually. I'm going to have to go and buy a SCART lead. But rest assured, once I've done that, I will test the console. And if that is successful... Then at the end of this video, I will show you about 2 minutes worth of footage from, what's it called? I was going to say Burning Rangers. It's not. It's Burning Rubber. I'll show you 1 or 2 minutes of footage from that. If it's unsuccessful, then I won't be showing you anything, and I'll be marginally disappointed. But like I said at the beginning, the price I paid for this, I won't be overly disappointed, because even in the state it's in, look at that. It looks as if somebody has taken excellent care of this. So I'm hoping it is working. So even in the state it's in a box with all the gear, some of it, still with the original plastic, I'm not overly disappointed, because this will make a good collector's piece. And to be fair, that's likely to be what it is. This is this is going to be more of a showpiece than a console that I'm going to play on, for 2 major reasons. Number one, that, like I already explained, the games are rare, so the likelihood of me actually collecting any more games for this console than Burning Rubber is very unlikely indeed. And the other reason is that I have played a few of 464 games, 464 plus games, and they're not really my interest. I bought this because I got it on an amazing deal that I couldn't say no to. Is basically what happened. Had this gone over 60 quid, I wouldn't be touching it, because I think that would be just too much. But 55, including postage, this is, I was perfectly prepared to pay. So this is going to be a collector's piece pretty much anyway. I've got no intention, unless I find beyond the realms of all possibility, I manage to find a game or two in the wild at some point in the future for a reasonable price, then I will buy them. But other than that, I'm not paying eBay money for the games for this thing, because frankly they're not worth it. And I think a one-off payment of 55 quid was perfectly reasonable, but I'm not going to spend 20 quid a game or more in some cases for the rest of the stuff that's on this console, unless I might spend 25 quid on something like Robocop 2 or something like that. But and I'm pretty sure there's a Batman game on here that's supposed to be pretty good. Oh no, I'm thinking of the there is. I'm sure there's a Batman game on here that's supposed to be pretty good. But other than that, I'm not going to bother. This is going to be very much a collector's piece. So even if it doesn't work, I'm not overly fussed. So let's just get it back in the box. I can't remember which way round it went. I'm sure it was that way round. Yeah. And then once I've got that back in the box, I will finish up. So there we have it, Amstrad GX4000. So like I say, I'm probably going to have to purchase a SCART lead because I'm pretty sure I don't have one. I may buy a replacement power supply, but then hopefully after that everything should be fine. Because I'm thinking, because there's been a lot of issue with these consoles not working when people have bought them second hand. But I think the issue is less to do with the console and more to do with the power supply. It seems to be, by the fact that it says don't unplug the power supply from the console, I think it's probably a power supply issue. It sounds to me like it might be a transformer issue. So yeah, a new power supply may well be in order. So yeah, how to end this? Now, like I said in the previous video I did on the GX4000, before I owned one, I think I came to the conclusion that it should just be avoided, basically. Now, that is still true. I think I did add the caveat, unless you can get one cheap, which is what I consider that I've done. Now, I'm still sticking to that, and I would still say don't bother to collect for it, because quite frankly I'm not going to bother to collect for it. This was very much a spur of the moment, oh there's that thing, I wish I had that. And it is a niche item. I like niche items. I have a few, not necessarily what I'd call rare things in my collection, but definitely I've got a few niche things, especially when it comes to the versions. Now, if that was 55 quid in box for the French version, I might not have bothered. I might have said, no, that's too much money, because the French version is more common. But for the British version, yeah, I reckon that's probably about right. I reckon that's probably cheap, to be fair, for what they go for, because the British version is far less common than the French one. The French loved Amstrad. They thought, I mean, I don't know if there was a French company making consoles at the time. I don't know if what's the big French developer? It's Ubisoft, isn't it? I don't even know if they existed in 1990. I'm not certain. They may have done, but only just. So yeah, that's how I'm going to end this video. Now, if I get it working before this video goes up, then there will be 2 minutes now of footage at the end of the video of, I keep going to say Burning Rangers. It's not Burning Rangers, is it? It's Burning Rubber. I don't want to go Burning Rangers. I haven't got a Sega Saturn. But if that's the case, then you'll know, because there'll be footage at the end of this video. If not, I'm not going to bother putting 2 minutes of blank space, because what's the point? But I will just say there will be some videos going up, on the left and right towards the end. There will be a subscribe button that turns up towards the end. Now, this may be happening now, or it may be happening in 2 minutes' time. And there's Twitter, questions, comments, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, that's it. I hope I haven't given away too many spoilers for the pickups, but there is some other stuff coming when I do another pickups video that it wasn't just this. So yeah, that's it. I hope everyone has a good first couple of weeks in January. And yeah, I'll see you in another video. So this is Burning Rubber. This is on the Amstrad GX4000, and the console obviously works. Now, I've put this through an upscaler box from the SCART, and it's running at 720p, obviously upscaled to that, because that's not obviously not the original resolution this is in. And this is Burning Rubber, for those of you that have never played on an Amstrad. Now, it took me a couple of minutes to get used to the control. What I don't like about this is that the controls seem to be set like you were using a joystick. So accelerate is up, which doesn't really work on a control pad, or certainly not what you'd be used to. So I was finding it quite difficult to control the game, although I dare say you can probably fiddle with the options. But yeah, so that's it. Yeah, the Amstrad works. I'm quite happy. I probably won't be buying too many, well, I probably won't buy any more games for it, most likely, because you can't find them. And I'm not really sure that I'm willing to pay eBay prices for them. So yeah, there you go. As you can see, I haven't really figured out how to control the car. And the time's about to run out, and turns out I'm rubbish at burning rubber. Although maybe I'll get some practice in now that I actually own it. So yeah, Amstrad GX4000. I think I got it. I made quite a good purchase there, really, all things considered, although it's probably just going to end up as a collector's piece. So I will see you in another video.